Who should be president? Fuck it, I'm doing it, dude.
I stand before you to officially launch my campaign for a second term.
I accept this nomination for President of the United States of America.
More than 200,000 people in the U.S. have died.
Historic mega fires. More than 38 million people have now lost their jobs.
I don't want to put my mask on. The mask is killing people.
Socialism is nothing but communism.
Nationwide outrage.
We are as close to a cultural civil war as we have been since the 1860s. Success is going to bring us together.
Newt Gingrich is like responsible for half the fucking culture war in this country, literally with what is known as wedge issues.
We are on the road to success.
We are in a battle for the soul of this nation.
Hello, my name is AK. I'm a business owner. I'm also a father, and I am currently a registered independent, but leaning Democrat.
Hey, my name is Mike. I am a member of the Walkaway movement, which is people who have walked away from the left and the Democratic Party.
Dude, what's up, dude? Yo. Somebody needs to fucking somebody needs to reel in the fucking the cis white gays, dude. What's going on with this walk away shit? Why is it always like... What's happening, dude?
So I consider myself kind of part of the new right.
My name is Shy. I am an educator and I am a liberal who leans more so in the middle.
My name is Maggie. I'm a data analyst. I'm 100% independent, but a lot of my issues do line up with the conservative point of view.
My name is Joe.
Some of these conservative cis white gays are like, listen, I love dick, but I fucking love racism. Okay, I can't stop. Like, I will give up dick for racism. All right, sorry, it's a part of me. All right, stop fucking these dudes. I'm looking right at you, chat. Gorbachev. Stop fucking these dudes, okay? They don't deserve it.
I work in Democratic politics. I actually just recently worked for Elizabeth Warren's presidential campaign, and ironically, I grew up in a very conservative family.
My name is Amy. I am a veteran and a mom of 3 boys. I'm a registered independent, but I tend to lean conservative.
Wait, what the fuck? She literally said she's progressive at the Trump video. Bro, yo, grifter alert, dude. She literally said she was the progressive one in the Trump video, bro.
If you disagree with the statement, please turn your camera off. The United States is the greatest country on earth.
When I think about America being the greatest country, one of those benefits that I do think is so great is we have the freedom of choice. There's many countries where women, their voices are suppressed. Even typing our thoughts on the internet, that's suppressed.
I really, truly, fully believe that America is really the last standing pillar of democracy as a whole in the entire world right now. When it comes to the people having the choice on what direction this country goes, right now, especially in 2020, I feel like we're personally the only country left where we have that opportunity.
Bro, we found out earlier today that, like, you can be just as Islamophobic, if not more, in France, okay? So, like, no, they have our freedom. Even in fucking... Freedom Fries, France. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry.
And that door open for us.
The United States is actually the only country that has freedom of speech in its constitution. And I think most people would agree, like, without freedom of speech, like, you can't do much. Like, that is really pretty key. Having, like, freedom of thought and, like, people being able to, like, criticize the government and make changes for the better.
If you look at other Western countries that we think of as being free countries, they're really not anymore. I mean, in the UK, you have comedians being put on trial for...
Oh, God. Oh, this is brain worms. Like, literally brain fucking worms. It's like, he saw like Count Dankula or some shit, and now he's like, yeah, I'm a fucking Trump supporter. At first, I'm immediately like, is this guy a grifter? But then I remember, no, he's probably an idiot. Like, he's probably a fucking moron. I always forget that there are plenty of people who are just fucking morons, and this guy's one of them.
Jokes and given prison sentences. In Canada, there have been people put on trial for criticizing different politics.
So for me, I would say that depending on what statistics you want to use, in America, there's...
Yes. When I think of two countries that are less free than the United States of America, I think of countries with comparably robust welfare states and robust social safety nets. That's what I think of when I'm like, you know, independent liberty for me means like a comedian getting censored or some shit for, I don't know, getting his dog to Sig Heil, which is an otherwise silly and stupid fucking thing to begin with. But I mean, it goes to show you that this dude's worldview is just so fucking guided by YouTube algorithm.
There's more people in prison. There's more people have guns in this country than anywhere around the world. I think there's other places that also have democracy. There's other places that also have opportunity, and it's not just the United States.
By turning my camera off, I did not want to come off as saying I don't think America is a good place, or it could ever be the greatest place. I just think in this moment, it's not the greatest place. This country is the worst country when it comes to COVID response. And it's not just because we have so many people, it's because we're doing almost nothing outside of a few Democratic states to combat it. I had COVID back in March.
I didn't unpause before the end of the ad. Chill the fuck out, ad watchers.
During the huge outbreak in New York City where we literally had refrigerated trucks sitting in hospitals because the morgues were full. We don't know the long-term effects of this disease, and we've unfortunately made the debate about deaths versus not, but the reality is it's a disease and it's wreaking havoc on people's bodies, and we should just be really careful about not letting millions of people get it.
But I just wanted to push back on this idea that a lot of people say President Trump hasn't done anything, he's neglected it. Kamala Harris just the other day released a statement saying that President Trump found out on January 28th about COVID and he did nothing. He found out on the 28th, and then on January...
And then he did the travel ban from China.
January 29th, he established the task force, the U.S. Coronavirus Task Force. On January 30th, he closed the border to China again.
See, it's always the same, brother.
What every Democrat wanted, they called it.
So if he knew all this and did all this, why did he keep saying COVID's not a big deal? It's gonna go away for like 2 months after. Why does no Trump supporter have an answer for this? Oh, because he was a cheerleader. Yeah, is he still cheerleading right now? Do you feel cheery, motherfucker? I feel very not cheerful. Get your mans with those fingerless gloves. I don't know what he's wearing. He's got no drip, negative drip.
Called it xenophobic. They called him a racist. They said he was hysterical.
Funny how we never heard about those truckloads of bodies after that one viral photo shoot. They could only afford one green screen use or what? Wait, come on, dude. Oh, this person real? He's fucking joking. Jesus
and
Christ.
Through all of February, every leading Democrat was saying, go out to parades, go to Chinatown. It's nothing to worry about. I'm in New York. Our Governor Cuomo put COVID patients in nursing homes, which is basically a death sentence when we know that that's the most vulnerable population.
One thing that I was kind of glad to see with Trump was, I would say he took a fairly libertarian approach to how he handled coronavirus, even though he
Exactly. Oh, Maggie here is like correct, but also brain dead, but still correct.
States to open.
He did take a libertarian approach, which is really bad. Both when it comes to, you know, trafficking your child as long as both parties consent. And also this, you should not have a free market libertarian approach to COVID. Yeah, true.
Open back up, he did not force them to do so. Even though he wasn't a fan of mask mandates, he didn't bar states from doing mask mandates. And if you look at the coverage of coronavirus, it's often talking about like New York did it this way, Florida did it this way, Texas did it this way. It's often talking about it at a state level. So I do see that as a win in terms of like Trump left the decision up to the states.
This is not a one person takes all the blame situation, you know? There was a lot of slow moving parts by the mayor and the governor of New York State that made everything worse. There's no question about that. But at the end of the day, When the governor can't manufacture or acquire personal protective equipment for an outbreak, they can't get enough.
That person is a data analyst? Like, what kind of data is she analyzing, bro?
Ventilators. They can't roll out a contact tracing program because they don't have the money for it. You know, at some point, the federal government has to take blame for that, for what is happening here in America. New Zealand went over 100 days without a single case, and that's not because they have a low population. They just did really basic.
It's because they don't have a real. Because they don't have a real country, brother. It's not real. Show us, dog. What, was Fiona back here or something? Because they're communist island.
Stuff. They said, wear a mask. If you get infected, let's find out who you met with. Let's find out what friends and family you're with. And let's tell them to isolate for a few days. It doesn't take a ton of money. It just takes leadership to say, let's do this in every single state.
I think we should take this virus seriously. However, I am also worried about protecting our rights in the meantime, because this is reminding me a lot of 9/11, in that 9/11 was obviously something that was very real and affected everybody. But because everybody was so afraid at the time, the government was able to come in and impede on all of our rights. And anyone who tried to speak up for our constitutional rights was called anti-American, and you're with the terrorists. And I feel like that's kind of what is happening now. If anyone wants to consider what the other damage that is being done in fighting the coronavirus, you're told you just...
I wonder what... I mean, let's be real. This guy has no fucking clue what he's talking about. But, like, first of all, like, I wonder what he thinks about, like, Donald Trump also expanding on the already beefed up surveillance state. And secondly, dog... One is like literally establishing one of the most robust surveillance states in the history of the fucking planet. The other one is just like, wear a mask and you can't open up your business until we get over the hump. Meanwhile, coronavirus has literally caused like 100 9/11s, dude, nearly.
Want to kill grandmothers and you're not taking it seriously. So I think that needs to be a balance in how we approach this.
I'll agree with Mikey in terms of the economic response. Business has been shutting down and people are trying to find ways to support themselves and their families. In addition, we can also talk about Donald Trump just 2 days before he got COVID.
I see people wearing winter coats and hats. What a bunch of fucking sheep. Lol, I did my own research and found out that only 1,500 people die from hypothermia in the US per year. That's only 0.0005% of the population. They live in fear of something that 99.9995% of people don't die from. It gets better. A lot of the people who die from hypothermia were wearing coats and hats, and they still died. Coats don't work. Where did you get this? This is a really good copy pasta. I've never seen that, but like that's one of those like that's an excellent copy pasta. That's 1010. It's probably Reddit. Yeah, and it goes away in the warmer months. Exactly true. Literally. Oh, that's so good.
It was on stage making fun of Joe Biden about wearing a mask, right? This is the leader of the country. So we can't also say that he took it seriously and then at the same time was mocking somebody for taking it seriously.
Mikey, you touched on, civil liberties, especially after 9/11. Look, I wholeheartly agree. The Patriot Act and a lot that came from that was a mistake.
You, sir, deserve a Reddit gold. Ha!
To me, asking someone to wear a mask and potentially having an app on their phone that does non-GPS based contact tracing, that's not really privacy invasive or taking away my rights. That's just like basic respect and humanity to like protect others. Like, we're not taking guns away. We're not reading your SMS messages. Like, I think you're kind of stretching the truth there.
Those are absolutely things that are happening. That the government is reading messages, spying on us, listen to anything that Edward Snowden has to say. So
right, that's what they did then, but that's not what's happening now.
Of course, it's still happening. We're still 20 years later trying to
I'm talking about COVID,
undo all the power that the government took in 2001.
Really? Who's this wee bitch? Huh? You think Donald Trump is trying to dismantle the surveillance state, dog? What the fuck kind of brain disease did you get, dude? You need to get back on the regular dick and get off Trump's dick pronto, okay? It is literally broken your brain.
As their measures keep getting more draconian, they aren't going to then relinquish this power.
But what power do they get by asking you to wear a mask? Like, it's a very simple thing.
How about in California,
others.
where the governor said that they'll shut off people's power if they have more than 6 people over their apartment? I don't think that's the place of the government.
I'm just saying a basic statement, like wear a mask when you're going grocery shopping to protect everyone around you. Like, I think we can all agree that that's a good idea, and that's not.
No. And I'm going to shit myself, and I'm going to rub my shit on everyone too, because God damn it, this is America and not some fucking communist country like New Zealand, okay? Shut up.
Intruding on my rights. And the president should encourage people to do so as the leader of the country.
Talking about, you know, a government impeding on somebody's rights. We have the speed limits. We have laws that we have to obey every single day. We're not in this place where it's complete anarchy, where we can do whatever we want to. So every single day the government is enforcing rules and regulations that we decide to follow. But if now a mask is something that's so big, I think it's just a little bit of a stretch.
The other side circulates more fake news.
When we talk about fake news, especially when or in my case, when I'm thinking of the other side, Fox News is like the first one that comes to mind. A lot of the things that they say to me tries to instill fear. It's the rhetoric that they use to try to get people angry or anxious about the opposite side's views.
Me being an independent, I listen to everybody. So I'll listen to Fox, but here and there, I will listen to CNN. Okay, well, what's CNN saying? What's MSNBC saying and stuff? The negativity, like, I don't know how anybody could watch those on a day-to-day basis.
Whereas Fox News is so positive, I'm always watching Fox News to get positive reinforcement about normal ideas like immigrants are dirty and bringing in disease into the country, or that black people are going to come into my apartment and, fuck my daughter. That sort of positivity can only be found on the most positive news network, Fox News.
Basis and feel hopeful.
I find this question a little bit challenging because I think both sides have, I guess, the word fake news that's going out there. But the reason why I find it difficult is because fake news never started until this administration. The biggest fake news that I would say is them saying that the economy is now saved under Trump.
What are those facts, though? Because for me personally, when I look at the trade deals that he did with the United States, Canada, Mexico agreement and everything, there are trade deals that Trump has implemented in his administration that have been very, very effective. If you really look at the
What have they been effective at? The fuck is she talking about, dude? Oh, Jesus Christ. Please, someone be like, what do you mean exactly? Can you describe the details of how it actually was effective? Like, what are you talking about? What is... We are so brain poisoned. Oh, God, delete America. Gee, we are ready.
Jobs that are being created right now in this country under a pandemic.
No.
That's pretty. I'm a Nancy Pelosi.
Jobs being created under the pandemic?
Pelosi clapped that one. That's pretty damn impressive to me.
Talking about the economy improving, it was already improving before he got into office. You look at 2010 in October, the unemployment rate nationally was at 10. And by January 2017, when Trump got into office, it was at 4.7. The weekly earnings rate was already improving. The stock market was already the highest it was ever been in 2013. I would give this to Trump.
And then instead of fucking normalizing it and listening to his own, treasury, what Donald Trump did was unshackle the market and continue quantitative easing rather than stabilizing. Because he was like, no, fuck it. Let's go all the way, baby. All the way. Why do you keep saying pet his back? Dude, you are freaking me out, dude. Oh, the conservative pet's back. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? I missed it. The jobs being created were the ones lost because of the pandemic. We lost 42 million jobs. Yeah.
He is an amazing marketer. Obama wasn't putting it on Twitter every single day, that the stock market was the highest it's ever been in 2013 and on.
You said that fake news didn't really exist before this administration is crazy to me. I mean, even think back to the Iraq War. Who sold the Iraq War to the American people?
You want to talk about the gas prices? Yet the healthcare costs over $300 with a $8,500 deductible. The tax brackets under liberals versus Republican. The corona, I'd maybe listen, but based on my own research, a person is simply misguiding and not true. The mask is not the problem. People eat after touching all kinds of shit and spit swapping. Next, what about starting a business, getting a certification, working towards advancements, not spoon feeding lazy people? Elaborate, son. What? Dude, I don't even know what he's saying. I can't pet him if I don't understand the take he has. Okay, let's keep going.
It was
Whatever.
the New York Times. The hysteria about Trump, I think, is totally unjustified. There was a study from Harvard showing that 94% of media coverage of Trump is negative. There was a time that Trump was asked about MS-13.
When he's such a positive person, dude, like, I don't understand why the media is covering the big, wet, dumb, idiot baby president in a negative way. It's so weird that the guy who ran as like Mexicans are rapists and, you know, we must secure we must secure an existence for our white children, i.e. the 14 words. Like, that guy, why are we being so negative about that guy? Come on, why can't you see the positives of his administration?
13, a gang which beheads people and murders children, and he called them animals.
Like, why? The reason why they jumped to that, MS-13 one, and not like the millions of other times where Donald Trump has been like very, very racist, is because they think that that's a defensible position.
The New York Times, the media, the entire mainstream media, CNN, they all reported that Trump called all immigrants animals. They said he called neo-Nazis in Charlottesville good people, but they clip out the middle of his sentence where he said, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis. And
bro, he said there were very fine people on both sides. Like, this picture, he's talking about people in this side as well as the other side. It doesn't matter after that, okay? I've said this before. It's like once you fucking do that, like, there's no recovery. Like, Nazis don't even expect you to do that. You spread so much misinformation. Why don't you do something about it, little bitch? Get mad, dude. Get mad, bro. Shut the fuck up. You scared little liberal bitch. You sit there all day and spew bullshit. Ooh, are you triggered? Are you triggered? I get to spew bullshit, dude, all day. Ooh, and fucking 20,000 people watch, dude. What are you, a snowflake, dude? Are you a snowflake? You are extremely toxic. You spew pure bullshit. Come on, brother. Oh, this is a good pet. This is a good pet. Wait, what is this video? Bro, you are an idiot, LMAO. Hold on, what is this video that he linked me? It's so bad, dude. He's not trolling. He's that stupid. All right, he stays.
And white supremacists who should be condemned totally. So, you know, I think at this point, everybody knows what they're getting when they watch Fox News. It's a conservative channel. And I feel like they don't really pretend to be anything but that. The problem is that every other channel is Fox News, but for the left.
I agree with you. The New York Times sold the Iraq War, and like the mainstream media was complicit in selling those lies. That's 100% true. But there's a huge monumental difference between what Fox and certain right-wing pundits do with media. The New York Times, if they get a story wrong, if they publish misinformation on accident, like, they issue retractions. Journalists get fired. Editors get fired. I know this because I know people who work at these media.
Okay, first of all, you're wrong, Joe. Like The Intercept, the greatest advocacy organization for Joseph Robinette Biden. Thank God for brave truth tellers like Glenn Greenwald, who have the courage to fucking self-exile, just like Barry Weiss did. Because they're sick and tired of the liberal propaganda, and not because they want to grift on their own Substack about how you know, gay people and trans people on social media are actually responsible for the demise of the Western self-deport. Yeah, self-exile. Are responsible for the demise of the leftist mobilization or whatever the fuck Glenn says.
Media companies. And in terms of expertise, we also need to touch on this. Fox News does not bring experts on its show. They don't bring climate scientists on their show to talk about climate change. The New York Times actually employs people with deep understandings of all these subject areas. I don't think the New York Times or any of these organizations are perfect at covering politics. But at the end of the day, they do care about truth. The people there do care about truth.
I totally disagree with that. I mean, there have been so many studies showing that the vast majority of people employed in mainstream media are all Democrats. I mean, show me
it's
any
not
time.
about party.
Show me where they've retracted saying that Trump called immigrants animals. Show me where they've retracted saying that he called Nazis very fine.
But he did say those things. Why would the media retract things that Donald Trump said?
People, show me where they retracted that he hasn't condoned white supremacy. So I just saw somebody put together a tweet from CNN that said from 2017 that says Trump condones white supremacy or condemns white supremacy and says racism is evil, and then a tweet from last week saying Trump has never condemned white supremacy. So they're not retracting any of this.
I don't remember the past 4 years in great detail because it's been a long time. It's felt like 10 years, let's be real.
Oh, please, we all need to drink after this decade.
So let's go with the most recent example in memory, which is the debate. He's asked very plainly as a presidential candidate, regardless of party, can you condemn the extremist people in this country who literally hate and want to kill and harm other people? That should be the easiest toss for any political candidate to do.
And he answered in the affirmative. Yeah, he said sure.
No, he didn't, dude. He said, stand back, stand by. Like, literally a layup. This guy's owning them, by the way. Holy fuck. Love this dude. Actually, love both of these guys. They are absolutely cumpstering and dumpstering the rest of the fucking idiots on stage here. She's a centrist, kind of, so...
Stand back.
He did not.
No, he didn't.
He said stand back and stand by.
No, he said sure, and then after that, he then said, well, look at Antifa and all those other people. He actually switched the blame. This was not something that we saw.
Yeah, Amy, shut the fuck up real quick. When Young Summit or post-COVID Summit over here started doling out facts, okay? It was like, oh, you want some facts? Here, I went to the fact store. I have extra. Go ahead.
The fact we saw this live happening.
He didn't say white supremacy is a good thing. He didn't avoid trying to condemn white supremacy. As soon as he was asked, like, will you condemn white supremacy, he answered in the affirmative. Like, he said sure. He said sure multiple times.
Sure. I'll just condemn white supremacy. Sure. It's like, dude. Like, why can't this lady just be like, I kind of like that he's a white supremacist? Like, that's literally why you're probably voting for him. Like, there's a reason why Donald Trump can't say, of course, fuck white supremacists, okay? And that reason is because of people like you who are low-key kind of on board with that, okay?
Like, Chris Wallace said, like, will you ask them to stand down, I think? And so Trump, he used the word stand by, which most people, like, take to mean kind of like be on the ready. And I'm sure you guys all watched the debate. But I would say that if you go back and watch the entire clip leading up to that, I would say...
Bro, they always say that. They're like, dude, like everyone turns into a Jordan Peterson fan. Like, conservatives can never just be like, no, this is in context. Like, everything is outside of context. Meanwhile, they literally will clip shit in a way, like they did with the 9/11 stuff that I was talking about, like in a way that they clip it in the least favorable, charitable way possible to be like, no, this guy loves 9/11. Okay? This motherfucker's the president, all right? It's not just his words, it's his actions, okay? If you're running for president and your campaign message is like Mexicans are rapists, we got to stop Muslims from, bombing our cities and shit. That's why we're going to do a full-blown Muslim ban. And then you actually follow through on that. And then you on top of that are like, there's very fine people on both sides, on the Nazi side and the people that are opposing the Nazis. It's a wrap. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to defend?
It's pretty hard to deny that Trump
dude, what you need to understand is, like, back in 1987, Trump once saw a black child and said, hey, black child, would you like this candy? So, obviously, that means he's not racist, okay? Like, You need to understand the full context of Trump. Oh yeah, you're a fan of Trump? Name 5 of his albums. Is literally always the fucking counter. Okay? Every single time it's like, oh, Trump is a racist? Well, here is extensive documentation reaching all the way back to 1987 where he has been in the vicinity of black people, or he has taken photographs with black people, or he has said otherwise that he is fond of a black person. So there you go. Proof that he's not racist.
Saying like, yes, I will disavow white supremacy.
But as a leader, we should know that we do need to be careful in those moments when 7 million or how many ever millions of people are watching us on that platform, that we use those words correctly. It makes me afraid to leave my home. It makes me think, well, they are being supported by him and they want to push whatever he wants them to do. So even just thinking about those terms, and even kind of bringing it more so towards like my local city, when we think about media and what they want to put on TV and what they want to put in the headlines, I was a part of almost too many.
Please answer me one single question. Who started wars, Trump or Obama with Biden? That's what matters. Wait, what? Why? If you're a Trump supporter asking me about who started the wars, first of all, what the fuck are you talking about? Like are you unironically saying that like you like that the people that start wars are good and that's what you're gonna vote for them? Like, how can you be a Trump supporter? How can you be a Trump supporter and be like, oh, dude, you know, Obama actually started the wars? Like, does your memory only go back to 2008 when, like, is that when America started? Or do you think the war started before that under a Republican administration? And also beyond that, Donald Trump has accelerated wars in the region just like Obama did. They both suck, okay? Both of them do. Due to it, the second in command in Iran almost causing a war is a peaceful dove. Exactly.
Peaceful protests that not one camera was around. But as soon as you saw people getting a little angry and they were breaking into stores and they were looting, the cameras was there. So I do definitely say media has an impact on how we hear and receive things. But also as a leader, the leaders need to know that the media is going to use your words against you. You do need to say certain things more direct or more assertive to make sure everybody understands on that first day, not 2 days later or 12 hours later, whatever the case might be.
I completely agree, even as a Trump supporter. Look, when I voted for Trump, me personally, I voted for Trump in 2016. And I knew back then, he's not a politician. He's gonna say some things that the media, who already hates his guts, is going to take some things and twist it. So I agree. And when I was watching that debate and Joe Biden was all like, Proud Boys, you know what I mean? Why doesn't he just say, hey, I literally just made the KKK a terrorist organization? That right there, you're disavowing white.
Wait, first of all, no, he didn't. It's unconstitutional. It's literally against the First Amendment. You can't do that. Secondly, the only reason why he tried to do that was so that he could legislate Antifa. As a matter of fact, Trump's own Department of Homeland Security and his own intelligence communities have literally been like leaking information to the press to be like, hey, we are aware that white supremacy is a big deal and kind of a big problem now. It's getting to a point where it's basically unavoidable. Like, we have to do something about it because it's actually a massive national security threat. And Donald Trump has directed his own intelligence communities to stop looking at white supremacy and tried to get them to, you know, manufacture shit like black identity extremists. Okay? It's nuts.
White supremacy. I wish he would have said that instead of saying the stand back and stand.
Wait, how is that unconstitutional? You can't. There's a reason. The First Amendment in this country protects hate speech. So KKK and like other hate organizations are a part of like political demonstration that you have a right to peacefully assembly and you have a right to like to demonstrate politically. So the KKK cannot be prosecuted in that way in America.
and buy things.
To respond to what we're talking about, what you were saying, Shai, is I feel terrible that you would watch that and get that impression. And I think that that's a total failure of the Trump campaign. You know, just between us, I was watching the debate and screaming at my TV, why aren't you talking about the things that you've done? It was so infuriating to me. I hated Trump in 2016. I didn't vote for him. I thought every horrible thing about him. And one of the things that really changed my mind is when I saw the things that he was actually doing to help the Black community.
When you see what he has done for the Black community, when it's the opportunity zones, whether it's the prison reform, whether it's fighting for school choice, which, girl, that helps those Black single mothers that are out there in the community who live in these impoverished zones and everything. Their children aren't sentenced into really shitty schools and everything, excuse my French.
To me, him doing things like that is so that we can bring it up. Oh, but he did do this for the Black community. Oh, he did do this. So that's what it feels like. And as far as like school choice, as an educator, that literally almost can demolish the public school system. Why not fix the public schools that are currently crumbling? Why
Fuck
not
yeah, never mind. I said she was a centrist. I was wrong. She's great. That's right. That's
extra
right.
funding to those schools. Why is it that those students have to rely on schools just for food? You know, I'm teaching out of a textbook from 2008. So
no, school choice is literally like, school choice is absolutely without a doubt anti-Black. Okay, Black kids rely on the public education system. All right, in higher percentages than white kids do. School choice eviscerates the public education system, takes away its funds, and gives it to charter schools, therefore allowing some Black kids, if they're able to get vouchers and if they're able to actually travel to the other school, to be able to go to a better school overall. Maybe, by the way, in theory, because that's not how it works out in practice, because charter schools are actually unregulated and therefore can literally shut off and not work and shutter in the middle of a school year, as it happens all around the country frequently. But the real reason, the biggest reason why school choice is like anti-Black is because it allows private schools to get more funds and personally segregate. Like, absolutely, without a doubt, segregate and not have any Black children if they don't want to. School choice was started by the Heritage Foundation. Yes.
It literally does not even have Obama in that textbook. President Trump is not in that textbook. So yes, he has plans that have helped the Black community, but I think it is a cop to say, yes, I've helped the Black community in this way, but I'm still not going to tell them Proud Boys to leave y'all alone.
I am worried.
Would you be okay with school choice if the real estate tax was not the primary method for public school funding? No. No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. No matter what happens, school choice is about creating charter schools so that they can restructure public funding away from public schools and public education that has a core curriculum that they need to abide by, that have regulations by the government that they need to abide by. No, it's terrible.
About a civil war in this country.
I don't think it'll be a civil war the way we think of it on battlefields, but I think in many ways it's already happening. I think no matter who wins the election, no one's going to accept it. There's going to be rioting, there's going to be everything, regardless of what happens. It should be a real priority for a lot of people, calming things down.
We are going to most definitely, I believe, have some bloodshed after the election. I do not think it's going to be, like you said, Mikey, on a battlefield, but I feel like it will happen in communities. There's hundreds of militias around the country, and I think we're only focusing on one, ignoring that there are these chapters that are in every single state around the country.
The Boogaloo movement, for example, has had dozens of people arrested this year alone by the FBI because they've shot police officers, they've shot at protesters, they've planted or tried to plan bombings. And just the other week, we learned they tried to kidnap a governor of a state. There are people out there who are genuinely trying to do more than just punch someone or whatever in the street. They are going for full-on, like, biggest possible show of violence you can go for. And I'm far more worried about that level extremism than I am about the Proud Boys.
I have my problems with Biden. But after Trump got COVID, he didn't bash the First Lady or Trump. He said, this is not a right issue or a left issue. This is an American issue. I have never seen that coming from Donald Trump. And that is what I worry about the most, is that I don't feel like Donald Trump will be able to calm the nation if something does happen.
I definitely agree with you, AK. Once again, like I said a little bit earlier, just the rhetoric that he uses is going to cause some people to get angry. He hasn't, to my knowledge, actually said if he's going to accept the results of the election, which also, of course, would make some liberals a little upset if, you know, the numbers are adding up and the Electoral College votes and we've got 270 and he still refuses to accept that. It makes people feel like they might have to resort to violence in order to remove him from office.
You know, we talked earlier about how he's a kind of a showman. He wasn't a politician. He doesn't know the words. This is a moment, probably more than ever in my lifetime and all of our lifetimes, where words are going to really, really matter. They're convincing their supporters the whole thing will be rigged. So no matter what happens, they shouldn't accept it. It's not going to be long before the tiki torches turn to guns and people shooting at each other like we saw in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That was unfortunately 2 people's lives lost. What happens when it's 30, when it's 50? How much violence are we going to be able to tolerate in this country?
Some people say what Kyle Rittenhouse did.
Bro, this dude is like every Twitch streamer wrapped into one. And he's just spitting, dude. His aim, his accuracy is similar to all of them combined.
Was murder. The other side is looking at him as
he's very good.
And that is what the scary part to me is.
I'm not saying he's a hero, but what are you supposed to do when you have people attacking you, charging you with guns, and are about to shoot you?
I don't think he should have been there. He came across state lines with an AR-15 to a protest. Like, you asked for problems just being there. You shouldn't have been there.
I go very back and forth on how I feel about this with Trump, because I certainly wish he would be more unifying, and I don't love everything he has to say. But on the other side, right now, every institution in this country is on the side of Democrats.
He's right. Joe is absolutely correct. He 100%, he 1000% was like looking for fucking shit. And he found it. And he ended up killing 2 people. I don't know why, like, so many Republicans refuse to acknowledge that. It's so weird.
And on the side of the left, and he's pushing back against that. And without that, I don't think that anyone else would. I wish that he would be clearer about the results of the election, but I do think mail-in ballots are the most susceptible to fraud. We should just keep things how they've been.
Colorado has been a state that's voted almost entirely by mail now for years. They have no fraud, right? Like, doing vote by mail fraud is extremely hard because those ballots are unique. And if there's any allegations of fraud, they still compare signatures just like you would with in-person ballots.
Democrats, I believe it was in California, wanted to get rid of signature verification.
Mm-hmm. They said it was racist. It was racist to have your ID at a voting poll all of a sudden.
If we're being...
The reason why they don't like that, the reason why they want to get rid of the signature check, or the reason why they want to fucking remove voter ID laws is because it literally greatly restricts black people from voting. Okay? And that's the reason why that's the angle that Republicans use to suppress the vote. Okay? That's it. The reason why Republicans are like, oh, you need a voter ID to vote is precisely because they look at DMV data and find out if in a specific area where like black and brown people don't have fucking driver's licenses, and if it's like, I don't know, 5 hours to go out and get one, then they're like, all right, fuck yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Are you saying black people can't vote? Wow, okay. Welcome to the United States of America, where like, yes, a big chunk of political movement in this country has literally revolved around trying to get black people to be able to vote. Okay? Yeah. Hello? Are you new here? How does a signature check suppress black voters? I don't know about the signature check. I was talking about voter ID laws specifically. I mean, dude, listen, looking at what Republicans do, the signature check probably does fucking suppress black voters from voting, okay? Let me tell you why. Just like name check fucking suppresses black people from voting. It straight the fuck up it's enforced in a way that that wipes out specific patterns of the voting population. And secondly, it literally every single instance of voter suppression is very deliberately crafted to make sure that black and brown people and poor people overall don't go out and vote. How does fucking name check suppress the black vote, for example? In the state of Georgia, the Secretary of State at the time, when he was running up against Stacey Abrams, literally purged, looked at names across the state in Georgia, okay, and recognized that black people had a higher percentage of hyphens in their names. Okay? Black people ended up having a higher percentage of hyphens in their names. So he did a matchup on a one-to-one basis. The likelihood that if you had a hyphen in your name, the likelihood that your name could be wrong in the voter rolls allowed him to purge like 10,000 or 20,000 votes. They got to compare the signature against something. It's generally a DMV signature. If they can't get an ID, they probably definitely can't get a signature on file as well. It affects other groups, as most people don't give a fuck about how their signature looks and just squiggly line that fucks over everyone when the signs don't match. That makes no sense. I mean, he did it. There's a whole Republican strategy doc that leaked about Republicans specifically trying to suppress black votes. So here's the thing. The signature check basically throws out every vote. It's who they're signature checking. Your signature is almost never the same, and they can toss it for any reason. That's true. So I've worked as a poll worker. Ballot suspected of fraud is given a provisional ballot if they attempted to vote twice or on behalf of someone else, where they aren't counted till they can confirm that it isn't fraud in Illinois. Yeah, here. There you go. In Atlanta, they looked at fucking hyphens to notice that, like, black and brown people were more likely to have fucking hyphens. Okay, this is surgical shit. So it's psychotic. When I mention it, you're like, what? There's no fucking way. But it's literally surgical. Okay, it's not an accident that Republicans keep winning with, like, a smaller and smaller fucking minority of voters. A law passed by the Republican-controlled Georgia State Legislature last year requires that all the letters and numbers of the applicant's name, date of birth, and driver's license and last 4 digits of their social security number exactly match the same letters and numbers in the motor vehicle department or social security databases. The tiniest discrepancy on a registration form places them on a pending voter list. A Reuters analysis of Georgia's pending voter list obtained through a public records request found that black voters landed on the list at far higher rate than white voters, even though a majority of Georgia's voters are white. Both voting rights activists in Georgia state government say the reason for this is that blacks vote more frequently to fill out paper forms than whites, who are more likely to do them online. Paper forms are more prone to human error. Both sides agree. The only way that you can get caught doing voter suppression that is unconstitutional is if you end up admitting that you're doing it to stop black people from voting. And guess what? Republicans are so fucking comfy with their voter suppression that they literally do get caught unironically admitting that they're doing it for that reason. React to LSF, they're mad at you. Why the fuck is LSF mad at me? I don't fucking care, dude. Wait, there's nothing on here. What is this? Why did you just link this to me? What? Oh, okay, bro.
Being honest, how many of us really know what extent of integrity there are in the elections? There were a lot of shady things happening in the midterms in 2018. In Broward County in Florida, there was a woman who had been convicted of destroying ballots, and she's still now in charge of handling the ballots. So I think there's a lot of blame on both sides, as AK said.
But my question to you, Mike, is if Trump wins the election, do you think he's still going to be pushing for fraud?
No, I mean, I think we have to see what happens. I think it depends on the facts, if there is any.
He's only going to push for fraud if a liberal candidate wins. But if he wins, everything, we can trust it. It's great.
Wrong. He literally said that there was still fraud. He's not just a sore loser. He's a sore winner, too. LSF Moss took down a bunch of shitty, angry EU cucks raging about a take or two you had earlier. Don't stress, nothing big. Oh.
That is an issue.
I was thinking civil war in the traditional sense, and so for me it's very hard to imagine people physically getting organized and battling over the territory of the country. I do think that the country is divided. I don't necessarily think that that's anything super new. You know, elections have always been pretty 50-50, so I think that's a really great reason why it makes a lot of sense to move decisions away from the federal and national level and move decisions to the state level, because I think that's one of the best ways to be an option for people who disagree to still live in the same country. I did have kind of a story to give regarding mail-in voting. And whether or not it is corruptible. I have 2 roommates, and I know that they're not voting the same way I am. And I received both of their mail-in ballots. I have integrity, like I just gave it to each of them. But the thought did occur to me, like...
The thought occurred to her? What the fuck? It's like saying, like, you know, I saw a knife at the kitchen cabinet and I thought, like, I could just stab this baby and kill it right now. Dude, it's not that easy, okay? Why is the thought occurring to you? So weird.
Somebody who could justify that to themselves could either A, throw away their ballots, or they could B, fill them out for their candidate of choice. And
you're just telling on yourself.
If we're talking about not
point.
accepting the results of an election, I feel like Democrats still have barely accepted the results of the last one. They've said for so long he's not a legitimate president. Russia put him there. I feel like,
bro, come on, bro. Hillary Clinton, like, I hate her, but she conceded the night of. Like, this is crazy. This is madness. Like, Trump can fucking cry about, like, interference all he wants when he's not president. Like, that's great. I don't give a fuck. But what we're talking about is, like, Trump using institutional power or any sort of, like, influence that he has to deny the outcome of the election. Like, that's entirely different than being like, Democrats are so butthurt that, you know, Trump won. Like, that's totally different than that.
feel like Democrats like to talk a lot about democracy, but they're the ones who have shown a pattern of not accepting it. They're the ones who rigged their primary against Bernie Sanders. In the 2016 primary, they threw voters off the rolls. They destroyed 200,000, or not ballots, they took 200,000 voters off the rolls in Bernie Sanders' own hometown. So I think there's a lot of blame on both sides in this, and that everyone only likes the outcome of an election when it suits them.
I 100% agree to Maggie's point and also Mike's. I actually do feel the mail-in voting is actually hurting more liberals and Democrats, because if everybody were just to go to the polls, then there won't be this hard transition of transfer of power. In addition, we are very divided, and this didn't just come in this particular not accepting the president. I think it was in 2010 or Mitch McConnell went on the floor and said, I'm going to make sure that Obama is a one-term president. At that moment, when he stood there and said, I'm not going to make him the one-term president, it no longer was for the good of the country. It then became the good of the party.
I totally agree with you. I think Republicans were disgusting under Obama, and I feel the same way about Democrats now.
I can understand why someone would vote for the other candidate.
As far as like the trying to understand why someone would vote for Trump. People trust him as far as like being a businessman and trying to restructure our economy in that way. So that I do understand. But then my rebuttal for that is we don't necessarily need a businessman for America. We need a leader.
I can definitely see why someone would vote for Joe Biden in particular, or a Democrat in general. It's not necessarily like that people like him, it's that they more identify as a Democrat. I also want to say, like, all the people that I've met that are voting for Biden, like, are all good people. They're doing the best they can with what they've got. Like, I think that goes for all of us.
I can understand why people would vote for Trump. I think the bigger question is, are you surprised about who would be voting for Trump? There's certain populations that make sense. If you're in business, if you do feel like you've been forgotten by the Democratic Party, I could understand. It's not actually just voting for Trump. It'd be voting for Trump, be voting for his cabinet, the same thing with Biden or his cabinet. I think it's more than just voting for the people, but about the constituents that they bring along with their team.
I'm looking at it from a national security standpoint. The CCP is a very, very large threat to me. And my family and everything, and Joe Biden, when you have your son that has received $1.5 billion, and unfortunately it's not conspiracy anymore. I can't expect you to protect us as American people. I can't understand why you would vote for somebody who won't have our best interest, who is flip-flopping constantly on whether it's fracking, whether it's your support for law and order, whether it's your support for things that are the foundation, not the racist foundation, not the past, but the actual constitutional Bill of Rights foundation.
If it were anyone else, I would really truly say I totally get it. I totally understand why somebody would vote for Hillary, for Bernie Sanders, for Elizabeth Warren. I don't get it with Joe Biden. We'll talk about the system is racist. Joe Biden is the system. He was an architect of so many of these things: mass incarceration, the war on drugs, the 94 crime bill. He wrote laws where he literally said on the Senate floor, the only thing we do not do in this bill is hang people for jaywalking.
I said this earlier when we were chatting informally. I worked on Warren's campaign. Obviously, I wanted her to win, right? Biden wasn't my guy. And he still says things that disappoint me. You brought up fracking. I wish he was against fracking, but he hasn't flipped on it. What disappoints me a lot more than Biden's maybe not perfect progressive stances is what Trump is doing right now. He wants to kick me off of healthcare. The Republican Party right now has a lawsuit, and it wants to completely invalidate the ACA, which means someone like me, under 26, that's a freelancer, doesn't get to use their parents' healthcare plan. It means people that are on the healthcare exchanges right now, because of Medicaid, are instantly off of healthcare. And the difference between Trump and Joe Biden is Joe Biden not only has a plan to continue the ACA and make a public option to continue make healthcare more affordable. He has a plan for climate change. He has a plan for criminal justice. You might think both of those things are inadequate, or they might not address whatever the problems. But the point is he has a plan, and he's willing to listen to people to make that plan better. I want Joe Biden to be more progressive, and I'll fight him after November if he wins to make him more progressive. If there's anyone in the year of 2020 that could be a leader in this moment, where we are all experiencing so much national trauma, both locally when we can't even go to funerals for our loved ones, but also just seeing so many beloved people die this year. If there's anyone that understands or has any empathy for what we're all going through, it's Joe Biden. And Donald Trump has put no empathy on display.
Oh,
this
fuck,
guy got
ad
out
time.
of a hospital, immediately took off his mask and said, "Don't worry about it, it's fine." That's not what we need right now.
The ACA was a very double-edged sword. It's not about whether you have health care or don't have health care. Trump has always said that he is in favor of outlawing the pre-existing condition law. And the thing is, the ACA didn't work so well. The ACA hasn't worked so well for all of us. My parents are both cancer survivors. Their insurance got so much more expensive. They lost their insurance because of it. My mom is a survivor of brain cancer who lost the doctor that put her in remission because of the ACA. So
Yo, was that shit contagious? Because my boy seemingly also has some of that.
I understand that there are good things about it. And believe me, I totally want Republicans to be much better on healthcare because you're right. I agree with you.
Okay, I'm pausing the video.
I don't know what they are for half the time. And for me, I know this is going to be a very unpopular thing to say, and this isn't going to win me any popularity points, but honestly, I don't care about empathy right now. I care about action. I don't care about feelings and words. I care about actions. Who has done it? And Joe Biden has just been so much talk with no action to back it up. When you're in office for half a century, you should be about more than words. You should have a record to run on.
I can understand somebody saying that Joe Biden sucks. I can understand.
Dude, imagine being like, my mom had brain cancer and like, I don't really give a shit. And that's why I'm advocating for fucking Donald Trump's healthcare plan, which literally has which is not a plan, and it's just currently at this stage just abolishing the pre-existing condition protection.
But to then say that the Republican Party is a solution is where I'm just flabbergasted by, because they're doing nothing other than throw money on top and then bury you from the bottom. Just like saying diversity training is un-American. You mean just
he didn't say that. It was critical race theory he was talking about.
So I don't consider that the Republican Party is doing anything better to court voters only during election time.
I totally agree, and I would say for me, there is a huge difference between the Republican Party and Trump. When I first heard that Donald Trump was running for president, I laughed. But one of the things that made me start to give it a second look was the fact that both parties were seeking to tear him down so much.
So you're saying that you're more in support of Trump than the Republican Party?
At this point, yeah. And like one thing that comes to mind that I guess really shocked me and disappointed me was Joe Biden's comment several months ago, essentially saying that if you were a Black person that you had to vote for Joe Biden. And if anybody said, like, because you're a white person, you have to vote for Trump, or because you're a woman, you have to vote for Joe Biden, I would be extremely offended. And I think that's incredibly divisive.
That's one of the issues that I do see with the Democratic Party, because they are stereotypically the party of the minorities. They do think they just automatically have, minority votes. Just as upset I was when, Trump makes his comments, I was also upset when, Joe Biden said that as well. We can't just automatically assume we have those voices because, Black people stereotypically are Democrat or more liberal and so on.
That was a joke he made, and he apologized for doing it because he thought it was inappropriate. And like he immediately apologized and said it was inappropriate, and I shouldn't have made that.
You know what? That's actually a pretty good take. I mean, everyone knows what the fuck he was saying or what he was trying to say, and it fucking was cringe as shit. And what was even more cringe, it wasn't a joke. He was just trying to say that like Black people, like he was going mask off. Okay, when Republicans go mask off, they say shit like when the looting starts, the shooting starts. When Democrats go mask off, they go, what are you gonna do? Vote for the other guy? Like if you vote for the other guy, you're probably not Black. Okay, like basically an admission of how Black people have to vote Democrat. Okay? Because, like, the other side is literally doing racial agitation. And that sucks when your track record on Black issues isn't necessarily great for the Black community. I don't give a fuck if Black people loved voting for Joe Biden or not in the primaries. Ultimately, that's the fucking truth. Right? But most importantly, it's so sad. America's such a fucking in a sad state. But like a good take here is that he did fucking immediately apologize for it. Meanwhile, like, Donald Trump is the type of dude who has apologized for like one thing throughout his entire Hey, he just doubles down. He's like, no, that's not real. I didn't do it. Fuck you. And if I did, it was actually good.
That joke, right? And I think that's a big difference between Trump and Biden.
Jokes are usually a reflection of the truth. And, you know, they love to use this.
The most embarrassing thing was like the 1619 Project lady defending Biden and being like, there's a thing called being politically black and racially black. Like, dude, that shit's way worse than like old fucking Jim Crow Joe over here accidentally having a mask off brain fart moment. Okay? You're like a respected black intellectual. Like, why the fuck are you caping for this dude when we all fucking know that there is no way that you would ever be that charitable to anyone else? Like, it's crazy.
Trump and Biden.
Jokes are usually a reflection of the truth. And, you know, they love to use this term again.
Yeah, okay. That's a weird take from a Trump supporter. Jokes are a reflection of the truth.
Gaffe, but I think a gaffe is really when a politician accidentally says what they really think. And he didn't even say if you don't vote for him. He said if a black person asks questions about voting for him, then they ain't black.
You know, the reason why I have an issue with Donald Trump for a myriad of different reasons.
AK's like, oh God. Like, I gotta fucking vote for Joe Biden, and now I also gotta deal with this fucking racist dude.
The thing that he lacks is diplomacy. And I think within the right, they think that the only way to get stuff done is to be brash and disrespectful. You don't have to be. There's a point about actual civility. You can actually not talk trash to anybody and still get jobs done. And then people wonder why we're so divided. But I think we should also remember the economy is actually done better under democratic rule. Does everybody remember what happened in 2008? It's like we almost forget that we're in a recession. It's almost like we forgot that the unemployment rate did drop under Obama. We also remember about climate change, Wall Street reform, DACA, right? So you're trying to pretend that he hasn't done anything. This was just on the prior presidency where he was a vice president that people are pretending didn't happen.
I think if we're going to talk about the recession, let's look at what Joe Biden has done, because he's the one who is actually on the ballot. When he was in the Senate, he removed protections that had been in place since FDR on the big banks. There was the bankruptcy bill, which allowed the banks to become too big to fail and caused middle-class people to lose their home. And we all remember that Hillary Clinton was caught saying about a public position and a private position. Well, we have 47 years of seeing.
Wait, but I don't understand. So, like, what he's saying is not wrong. But, like, why are you a Trump fan then? Like, I don't get it. Wait, or unless he talked about something that I misunderstood. I thought he was talking about Glass-Steagall, right? Like, wait, did I, wait, hold on. I think I misunderstood what he was saying in the beginning.
Big to fail and cost middle class on the ballot. When he was in the Senate, he removed. Let's look at what Joe Biden
as president that people are pretending didn't happen.
I think if we're going to talk about the recession, let's look at what Joe Biden has done, because he's the one who is actually on the ballot. When he was in the Senate, he removed protections that had been in place since FDR on the big banks. There was the bankruptcy bill, which allowed the banks to become too big to fail and caused middle-class people to lose their home. And we all remember that Hillary Clinton was caught saying about a public.
Wait, so he's right about all that, right? But so then how is he going to tie this up to like voting for Donald Trump? Because like all of that's true. The Democratic Party absolutely has conceded to like Wall Street deregulation time and time again. Absolutely played a gigantic role in all of our recessions or any sort of like economic turmoil that we face now. But Donald Trump also is on board with all of that and like was president for 4 years, didn't do anything about that. Took away like the limited measures that Obama had even put in place. Like there was like a fiduciary responsibility for finance people to be beholden to the people that they're selling mortgages to or whatever. Like, I mean, this makes no sense. Like Donald Trump's administration continued deregulating Wall Street. Like even the limited checks that were put in place during Obama in the aftermath of 2008, Donald Trump immediately sought to deregulate. So what does that even mean? Like, why are you a fan of Donald Trump then?
Position and a private position. Well, we have 47 years of seeing what Joe Biden's private position.
No, he's talking about it was a Graham Leach blithely act to repeal Glass-Steagall under Clinton, had nothing to do with Obama. No, but he's talking about Biden in that circumstance.
Are, if you look at his actual
Biden was still in Congress under Bill Clinton
actions. And I totally agree with you that I very much wish Trump would be more unifying and would be less bombastic, but I think he gets results.
But at what cost?
And no, he doesn't get results. Yo, this doesn't make any sense. Like you can't just be like, Joe Biden did this, and this, and that's why I'm voting for Trump, without saying like what Donald Trump has done when Donald Trump has continued on with the exact same deregulation.
How many times has Trump put more gas in the fire? When the NFL protests were happening, he could have just said, hey, I'm going to step out of it. But he had to go out there and say, these SOBs, right? How many times has he actually not been unified? I would actually say the biggest problem that we're facing today is we can't listen to each other. If you can't listen to each other, I don't care who you're going to have in office. It's going to be continually fighting back and forth. And what I've seen from the Republican base, literally letting anything go. Yeah, Biden isn't the best. He gaffes. He's not my most exciting choice. But we're not also saying that he's also anointed from God and the best presidents we've ever seen. That is the difference. We understand that he has problems. But we also understand that Trump has problems as well. And we want to say, we're not going in the right direction where things are going.
For me personally, I feel like Trump's problems are in a weird, ironic way, a blessing at the same time. So,
like, I want someone to describe to me why one of the first measures that Donald Trump implemented was unrolling Dodd-Frank regulation that dictated the big banks had to have a certain amount of capital always in an effort to mitigate some of the inevitable financial turmoil that they will cause. Like, can anyone tell me precisely why that level of financial deregulation is actually good for anyone but the big banks? Like, there is literally no fucking rhyme or reason. VOD is gone. What do you mean the VOD is gone? Is it? Is there like copyright or something? What the fuck happened? What the fuck? It is actually gone. So Biden is to blame for the Bush administration? What, you think Biden's actions and Bill Clinton's actions in... Oh, I bet they fucking mass reported or some shit because of LSF. Oh my god, nothing triggers butthurt white Europeans like fucking calling out how Islamophobic they are. Jesus Christ. Yeah, they love free speech, dude. Motherfucking free speech, baby. Oh, nothing says fucking free speech like mass reporting a dude because he's upset that like Islamophobia is going to radicalize and cause further rift. Hey, at least our racists say they're fucking racist with their fucking chest law. You think Muslims are Europhobic and Christian phobic? No, motherfucker.
One of the things, he's not a politician, therefore he's not going to be politically correct. I know and I completely understand that it's not going to be necessarily the best or the most popular thing to say, but it's something that needs to still be said. And when
Sleepy
he talks,
Joe?
Sleepy Joe,
Like,
he needs to take a nap.
I'm just saying this, like, all these things aren't politically correct. There's a difference between just outright making fun of every single candidate. He's a businessman. He's been on TV. It's not like he's a toddler.
When it comes to this establishment that has been running, especially if you want to look at the Black community specifically, the things that they have had in place, the things that they've been regurgitating and been feeding us as a Black community as a whole, I feel like those things need to be broken. Whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Obama, whether it's Hillary Clinton, whether it's a whole little family, you know, that has been saying what we want to hear to get them voted into office, to run policies that do absolutely nothing for the Black community as a whole.
But that's just not true. I mean, when we talk about if we're going to continue to put Black people and say they're a monolith, LGBT, climate change, these are all, I understand that. I'm not defending Joe Biden. I'm just saying it's not like Trump is the savior of Black people. One thing is I find it also very insulting when people think the only Black issues are crime bills, right? That is like insulting to think that the Black is just related to crime. When you think about Black America, we are not a monolith, right? LGBT, climate change, DACA, all these other things that happened under Obama, right? The bailing out the auto industry, Black unemployment rate was at, 17 in 2010 and got down to 7.6. Right. And I just want people to always think that Black problems are only crime issues because that is insulting.
He's saying LGBT, but it sounds like LGBT, okay? LGBT so nice they did it twice, dude. There's a second now.
As a population, I think there's so much more than we are than just prison systems.
I mean, just real quick on the education stuff we were talking about earlier. I think it's a national problem and we really needed a national solution. What I've seen from Betsy DeVos is someone that really tries to play this divisive line, that really has no interest in growing public education and making sure that every child has the best possible education. And I think, again, Joe Biden is not perfect, but I know he'll appoint a great Secretary of Education. I know he's going to take public schools seriously. And
dude, gay sex was, okay, I'm tired of watching this, dude. I can't go through it any further. Gay sex was too OP. They had to hit it with a Nerf, dude. They patched it. In LGBT, they patched gay sex. They also took out Mikey in the patch. They patched him out. LGB3 when no microtransactions.
And that benefits all of us when the generation behind us has a great education.
When I think of the state that I live in, and I look at the school systems that we have, it is specifically Republican legislation that has led to the decline and the defunding of our public schools. When we look at Joe Biden's plan, they're saying, look, on day one, we plan on giving Title I schools X amount of money. So especially when I think of public education, and we've talked about school choice before, but we have to fix what is available to all of our students at this point in time. I don't really have faith in Republicans to truly support public education.
Do you want this over? Do you want this or do you want Watch Dogs time?
Schools, they get money based off of
I'm gonna put a poll in the chat.
From the neighborhoods that you live in. Poor neighborhoods are going to get little funding. Rich neighborhoods are going to get more funding. Republicans have done nothing to stop this but say, you know what, that's okay. Let's still give these corporations a tax cut and not let them pay an extra penny so that maybe that money could go to our public schools.
I do think that public school is not the same as education. And I think that if we're thinking about the good of students in general, Choice and competition is extremely important. In any system, when you introduce competition, almost always quality goes up and cost goes down.
What? First of all, deregulation isn't even like pro-competition, okay? Like, that's not even true. And there are certain instances where, I mean, that's just categorically false when it comes to the USPS, for example, okay? There's no such thing as like competition making the United States Postal Service better. As a matter of fact, the only reason why people in fucking libertarian safe havens like rural parts of Nebraska or Alaska, for that matter, get mail at all is the USPS being a not-for-profit government branch, okay? That it doesn't operate at a for-profit basis, and Republican motherfuckers should be very excited. You understand me? They should be super glad that it exists. All right? Secondly, deregulation, like Reagan-era deregulation in the airline industry, for example, has literally led to less competition. Holy shit, keep playing, this is winning. What the fuck? No one's voting. God damn, I just, no one votes. Fucking leftist community, 2K people voting, 20K people watching. 2,000 people barely voted.
And so I think we're doing a disservice to our kids if we're not giving them choices and if we're not allowing competition in education.
And sometimes what happens with this competition is there's still only a small subgroup of students that are actually able to choose. When we think of school choice and we say, yeah, we're going to open it up, they're still going to be stuck in public schools who have now been left behind because we've given them a choice to go somewhere else and we've created this competition.
Sure. I think that even if it just benefits a small segment of children, I think that's still valuable.
I mean, I think the public school system is obviously, it's something that's been a challenge for a very long time. And I think people are trying to find solutions. But like I said, I think both parties have done things, but I think our decisions of why we're making these voting decisions are multifaceted, right? I think both sides have done more for the Black community. My personal feeling is the way that the Republican Party represents the Black community isn't always the best.
This is going to sound very counterintuitive because I know his words can be a little insane, but I genuinely, truly believe that Trump has totally changed the Republican Party. I hated the old Republican Party. Like, and all of those old Republicans that are still around, they got—
Dude, the old Republican Party is the same as Trump's Republican Party. It's literally the same people. Like, who do you think is in the Senate, you fucking dingus? You think Donald Trump is voting on behalf of every single Republican? Why is it that Republicans vote 90% plus for Trump's agenda? Like, what do you think is going on? Like, these motherfuckers have been there in perpetuity. Like, what do you mean? This is not a new Republican Party. Trump's agenda is not even new. The only thing different about Donald Trump, outside of like the tariffs and shit, is that he's just mask-off racist instead of doing the talking points and dog whistles. Like, if you unironically say, I love how Donald Trump has reformed the Republican Party, you're basically saying, I always liked the Republican policies. I just didn't understand. Like, I really needed to hear the racist shit.
got to go. We've had so many years of the Republican Party ignoring the Black community, worse than ignoring the gay community. And I think Trump has totally changed that. He's brought LGBT groups into the White House. He has done so many things. The role that many of us in the party now need to have is to keep that ball rolling and keep changing a party that has sucked for so many years.
I am open to the other party's ideas.
It's the last part of the... Yeah, dude. He brought LGBT into the White House so Mike Pence could kill them. Like... So Mike Pence could do, like, gay conversion therapy to them directly.
I think I would do a huge disservice if I did not listen to the other side, especially in my role. I don't want to.
I love that Joe said, "No, fuck this."
Classroom with just this one opinion and not being able to listen to my other students or parents or administrators and leaders who have different viewpoints too.
I'm part of the walkaway movement of people who used to be Democrats and have left. One of the things I always say to them is do not become what you walked away from. So I think the worst thing we could do is buy into tribalism and groupthink. I've been a Democrat, I've been an independent, now I'm a Republican. So for me personally, the moment that the Republican...
You know what hasn't changed though? You've been an idiot. You were a stupid Democrat and now you're a stupid Republican.
Party no longer represents what I think is best for my country and my values. I'm out.
I think we can all agree that we're in a very, very divisive time. I think social media is a big factor to that. Me and my girlfriend can literally be sitting in the same room, both on Facebook, and our feeds be completely different. And what actually is happening because of it is we're only seeing these echo chambers where things are becoming much more divisive. So I think what we need to start realizing is that we have to actively start searching the other side just to even get that perspective, because otherwise we're just going to get things that already align with our worldviews.
Correct me on this if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that Republicans definitely helped create and were very pro a lot of the tax loopholes that especially businesses exploit. That's definitely something that I don't think is a good thing.
I don't feel like the left is as intolerant as they should be. I think that they could be able to have conversations, not just shut up and listen as I have to say my point, would actually do more justice, because what you're seeing is if you don't let me talk, I'm just going to show you in the voting booth.
It's kind of a tricky situation for me because when I look here, present day 2020, there is a very massive push for socialism specifically. It sounds beautiful on paper. It sounds great. In fact, if I didn't know much about socialism, I'd say, hey, free healthcare, free school, free housing, free. Why not? I would love for anybody, especially on the Joe Biden.
Dude, I'm sorry. You're so stupid, dude. You're so fucking stupid. First of all, you're a veteran, okay? If there's one group of people in this country that at least have more of a socialized system that they benefit from, it's fucking veterans, okay? Number one. So please do some self-reflection, all right? You literally have a government jobs program that you participated in that offers you nationalized health care, okay? Literally, and probably even paid for your fucking college education. So what the fuck are you talking about? That's one. Whenever people are free, that sounds so silly. It's first of all, it's not free. Taxes obviously pay for it. Secondly, it literally works all around the world. And lastly, it's ridiculous that you as a veteran would have this take when you at least have a more normal system in comparison, a closer system to Europe in comparison to most other people. Even in that circumstance, however, of course, it's still dog shit. Veterans don't get the fucking healthcare that they need, all right, in most circumstances. Only if you're lucky or really unlucky do you, as a veteran, get the actual treatment that is necessary. That's one. College education, same shit. Your job prospects are still limited. And no, you shouldn't sell your body to the fucking American imperialist war machine so that you can have these normal social safety nets that are otherwise given to every single fucking individual unconditionally if they were born on European soil.
To just name me a country where socialism has actually worked. And being a mom of 3 boys and being a veteran and everything, I feel like this is the most important election that we have. And I feel like Trump, even though he's not perfect, he is keeping a lot of things in
Name one country: France, Germany, UK, Sweden. Literally every country in the European Union. Canada. Norway. South Korea.
I want everyone to have access to quality healthcare. I want everyone to have access to quality education. I think everyone deserves a home or somewhere to live in. I think everyone deserves to have food on the table at night. I think when you retire, you should have access to Medicare. I think these are very basic level of playing field for everybody. I listen to Republicans all the time, and I don't hear them saying they want to do any of the things I just described. I keep hearing a lot of kind of talk about socialist Marxism, blah, 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 blah. I don't really care what label you come up with, right? I'm just saying people deserve basic dignity in this country. But right here in New York City, there's 1 in 5 kids who are homeless. Like, what are we doing? There's got to be a balance between people who have so much money just hoarding billions and billions of dollars and people suffering because our governments at the state and local level don't have the money to help them. And we have people at the federal level, mostly the Republican Party, that don't want to spend any money to help them, right? We got to change something here because everyone does deserve access to healthcare, education. You know, earlier we were kind of talking about climate. Donald Trump is 70-something years old. He doesn't have to deal with climate. But me, being on Staten Island, sitting on the edge of the Atlantic, I do. This affects our home prices. This is going to affect our generation for decades. And the longer...
I mean, he was a Warrenite, so he probably hates me, but he's great.
Way to do anything about it, the worse it gets. And so I just keep looking at the Republican Party, waiting for one of them to say, we treat these problems seriously. We see the crisis for what it is. And here's our big, bold idea.
Why you shit on military personnel always? You have many in your chat? I know. I'm not shitting on military personnel.
Is to solve them. And I'm not hearing that.
I definitely just want to commend your passion for the welfare of others. Like, that is so evident that you just care about people, like you said, having quality education, having quality healthcare, having food on their table. I think that shows tremendous compassion, and I definitely respect that. Whatever system we're talking about that puts more power in the hands of the government and has the government control the means of production or whatever it is, I would say empirically, when you look at when that has been tried, that has led to
Say it.
Worse education, it's led to worse healthcare, it's led to increased poverty.
I'm not advocating.
Yeah.
Say it. Fucking say it.
We end capitalism tomorrow. I don't think any entrepreneur who wants to start a business should suddenly change their plans because of a socialist movement. All I'm saying is there's a lot of basic guarantees we should be giving people from the government, education, healthcare, etc., addressing big picture problems like climate change that require big investment and regulation in order to address. We need those things. And there's only one party right now that is even offering some of what we need. Because remember, I'm a progressive. I don't think the Democratic Party is going far enough. I don't think Joe Biden's platform goes far enough. But I know I can at least pressure him as an activist. I don't think I can do that with...
Guys, you don't understand. For Americans, Europe doesn't exist, okay? The only other countries outside of the United States are countries that we have fucking eviscerated with our imperialistic endeavors, okay? That's it. The entire European continent is fake. It does not exist. It's just as fake as birds are. Birds don't exist, and neither does fucking Europe, okay? No country that actually has social safety nets and is not on fire exists. It's not real. Yeah, it's Mexico and Snow Mexico. Exactly. Well, Snow Mexico, not really, because Snow Mexico also has those social safety nets, so it doesn't count. That doesn't exist. Canada is also a part of Europe and therefore non-existent. You have to remember. Canada doesn't exist because it's a part of the because of its EU. It's an EU country. They acknowledge those countries and then make up reasons why they're different, and that shit wouldn't work here. Yeah, no, for real.
The Republican Party. They bring snowballs to the Senate floor to prove there isn't climate change. How am I supposed to convince them we need to invest in more green jobs in this country if they don't even think the problem is real?
I can't speak to environmental concerns as much, but definitely in terms of education and definitely in terms of healthcare, I think the free market has a ton to do with it. Health insurance or health coverage is not the same as health care. And I would also say that free education is not the same thing as good education. So I think a really good example.
I mean, you need some. No matter what, Maggie, free, paid, you need some education because clearly it didn't take, okay? Just saying. You need something.
Example is Canada. Healthcare is free, but the quality is super duper low. And if you go to public healthcare in Canada, if it's an emergency, sometimes...
What the fuck is she... Oh, God, dude. Yo, this is why Steven Crowder needs to be banned off all platforms, okay? You listen to his fucking nonsense and you're like, oh, no, people in Canada are dying, dude, literally.
They refer you to a private healthcare.
Right, but the difference in those things is cost. If you want to have a private healthcare plan in Canada, go for it. I don't care. But the thing is, everyone in Canada has that basic right. If they need it, they have it. And I'm just saying in America, that should be the same thing. You want to pay for that extravagant school or healthcare plan? Knock your socks off. I don't care. Like, these are just basic rights we can guarantee people. It doesn't have to replace all these other systems you're comfortable with. Let's just give people certain rights and then have that conversation about how well it is or isn't going.
But the Green New Deal right now, that's what they want to do, especially when
let's talk about the Green New Deal, right? Like,
yeah,
the Green New Deal.
Trillions of dollars with no actual plan.
The plan is simple. We need to rebuild the infrastructure in this country to be more climate resilient, because places like right here in Staten Island get destroyed every time there's a tropical storm, let alone another Hurricane Sandy. So what if we just guaranteed everyone who wanted training and a job, whether it's here or in Appalachia where they only do coal mines, a job in making green products? It's literally the most capitalistic thing the Democratic Party could possibly come up with to boost our economy.
This guy's great.
And fight climate change. It's like a win-win for everyone.
Trump just signed a deal where we're going to be planting 1 trillion trees. Trees have a very big importance on our country, on our planet as a whole. So why you want to take away all of these industries that are taking from the planet, but we're going to be giving back to the planet
doesn't work
when
like
we're
that,
doing
though.
these things.
So I just want to be honest scientifically, right? Like, the reality is he can plant 2 million trees, but the Amazon in Brazil is burning at a rate we've never experienced in global history. And it doesn't matter how many trees we plant in America if the planet's screwed, right? At the end of the day, we have to stop putting carbon in the air. And California is a great example of a state.
Trees absorb carbon.
But we need to stop putting it in the air to begin with. That's the problem. We can't just rely on absorption.
I'm very much for the fact that Republicans need to be better on the environment. I actually agree with what you said.
Okay, this dude doesn't give a shit about the environment.
Joe, earlier, that you're a progressive who thinks Democrats don't go far enough. I don't think Republicans go far enough. But I do think that there are some strides that are being made. He signed the Save Our Seas Act, cleaning plastic out of the ocean. The U.S. is currently leading the world in reducing carbon emissions. And in terms of the Green New Deal, I feel like this is a concern that a lot of people on the right have, that it always starts with something that sounds very lovely. Save the planet. Cost was tens of trillions of dollars. So I do agree with you that I think we should be investing in jobs.
And then you close your eyes for one moment, communism.
And promoting that with the free market, but I don't think the Green New Deal is the way.
I don't think Joe Biden's plan is actually the Green New Deal. So we might need to actually revisit that subject. The issue that I have too is that Republicans don't really trust science. So at least we do look at Democrats of trying to listen to scientists and think about what they're saying about what could save the climate and economy.
I honestly don't know what Joe Biden's position is on the Green New Deal anymore, because on his website, it promotes the Green New Deal. It says that it's a great plan. So I don't know at this point if he's for it, if he's against it. He's sort of spoken out of both sides of his mouth on that.
As a progressive, I wish he was for the Green New Deal. That's my honest answer. I wish he was. He has, though, moved on spending more in his overall climate package. It's now a $2 trillion climate package. I know that doesn't mean a lot to the people watching this, but all I'm saying is he is listening. He just isn't going all the way that sometimes right-wing media portrays him as.
One of the things I want to say is when we look at media as the mainstream media, but we don't see social media as media. And
my man. Good shit, Joe.
The reason why I say that is we can't only blame media, but at the same time, we're just retweeting articles without doing any type of fact checking as well. We are also part of the same problem that the mainstream media is doing every single time we retweet or share or don't actually do content.
I think that's so true, AK. A lot of people will complain about the people in power and a lot of people will complain about the government, but I think like we as everyday citizens also have to hold ourselves to account. Because like we did elect the people that are in power, and we are like making, like exactly like you said, we are sharing things on Twitter and Facebook. And so I do think that the everyday citizen needs to have a little bit more critical thinking. When they read something, they have to ask themselves, like, is this true?
Wait, you can't fucking say that when moments ago you literally said like social safety nets don't work so good. Like, what?
Does this make sense?
Can I ask you, like, where does everybody get their news sources from?
I don't really watch much cable TV because I think it's kind of, cable TV is like, I think people confuse cable TV for journalism. Cable TV is predominantly personalities speaking.
I just assume
it was about to be like, I watch Hasanabi on Twitch.
That everybody has their own personal agenda, and I use it as a top layer, and then I got to go in deeper to find the actual facts. So When people talk about the stock market, I'll actually go to Dow Jones. If they're talking about unemployment rate, I'll actually go to, Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I love all you guys. I think this was a great conversation. This was so refreshing to me. But I know that we all grew up in completely different environments.
I think we should stop normalizing Trump supporters.
We have different
That's what I think.
And everything. And I hope that as Americans, we can just completely accept, hey, this person might think differently than me, but it doesn't mean that they're a horrible person.
We've all had some type of experience that can dictate why we might be liberal or why we might be conservative. But at the end of the day, we're still American and we're still valuing and listening to each other.
My encouragement, though, is to fellow Gen Zers, please, 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 please vote. Us young people get written off as not caring and not paying attention, and we don't vote, blah, blah, blah. The best way to make everyone in politics and in DC care about us is to vote.
So I would just say to anyone watching, think for yourself, do your own research, vote for whoever the hell you want to vote for.
Oh, fuck you, fuck off. Don't vote for Donald Trump. Okay, this is the last